All right, let's talk about something I think we've all felt. If you have ever tried to study for a big, important exam, a certification, a professional license, anything like that, and just completely burned out, then this is for you. We're going to break down how AI is changing the entire game of studying, and not by giving you cheats or shortcuts, but by actually fixing what was so broken about the process in the first place.
It all starts with that feeling, right? You get the books, you're all fired up and motivated, but then a few weeks go by and you're just exhausted. You feel like you're spinning your wheels, getting nowhere. So why is studying on your own such an incredible uphill battle?
Well, here's the hidden problem, the thing nobody really tells you. When you study by yourself, you're not doing one job, you're doing two. You've got the learner job, which is what you think you're doing, understanding ideas, memorizing facts, doing practice problems, but you're also forced to be the manager, which means figuring out what's important, tracking your own progress, testing yourself, finding your weak spots, and somehow keeping yourself motivated through it all.
And that second job, that's what breaks people. It's almost never about not being smart enough. It's that hidden administrative workload that just completely drains your energy and kills your momentum. It's the friction in the system, and it's the reason so many people just give up.
So that brings us to what we could call the old way of doing things, the high-friction grind. You know the drill. And this highlighting, rereading chapters over and over, all while you're just guessing if you're even focusing on the right material. Your progress feels totally invisible, and that is a perfect recipe for burnout.
But what if we could completely change that? What if we could move from that lonely grind to a guided system? Well, that's exactly where an AI study engine comes in. We're talking about new tools that don't just dump information on you. They transform the whole process into an adaptive system that actually works with you.
Okay, so how does it work? The whole idea is that the AI becomes the administrative layer for your learning. Think of it this way. The AI takes over that exhausting second job, the manager job. It handles the planning, the testing, the tracking, all of it. And that frees up all your mental energy to do the one thing you actually sat down to do, learn the material.
And when that happens, the entire experience just shifts. It stops feeling like you're managing a bureaucratic project and starts feeling more like an actual conversation. You're not just staring at a textbook anymore, you're interacting with a system that's actively trying to help you get it right.
All right, so that's the big idea. But let's get practical. How does this actually play out day to day? It all comes down to a really straightforward 4-step study engine.
Here they are, the 4 steps. First, you build a blueprint. Second, you maintain memory. Third, you fail safely. And fourth, you track progress. Let's dig into each of these.
Step 1 tackles the #1 reason people get discouraged, the sheer scope of it all. You look at a 500-page book and your brain just shuts down. So the AI starts here. You feed it your syllabus or the exam outline, and it immediately analyzes everything to create a blueprint of the most important, high-impact topics you need to know.
And the feeling is, it's instant relief. That giant, intimidating mountain of information suddenly has a clear, manageable path cut right through it. Your anxiety just plummets because for the first time, you actually know exactly where to focus your energy. Step 2 solves another huge frustration, losing your momentum. We've all been there. You take a few days off, come back to your notes, and it feels like you're starting from square one. The AI fixes this with something called persistent context. Basically, it remembers everything you've done.
And the difference this makes is huge. Without it, studying is just this series of choppy, frustrating stops and starts. With it, it becomes one continuous, seamless journey. You just pick up right where you left off, which, if you're trying to squeeze studying into a busy life, is an absolute game changer.
Now for step 3, and this one might feel a little bit backward at first, but it is so effective. It's the idea of learning by failing, safely. Instead of the old way, study for hours, then test yourself, this model flips it. You start every single session with a quick diagnostic quiz to find out what you don't know yet. So, for instance, if you're studying for a real estate license, the AI might hit you with a question like this right out of the gate. The goal isn't to get a perfect score. The goal is to instantly find your weak spots. And here's the key. If you get it wrong, it doesn't just flash the right answer at you. No way. It immediately becomes your personal tutor. It stops and explains the core concept behind the question. And then, a little later, it'll circle back and retest you to make sure that idea actually stuck.
This completely reframes what it means to make a mistake. It's not a moment of judgment anymore. It's not frustrating. Failure just becomes data. It's productive feedback. It's the system saying, hey, look over here. Let's patch this little hole in your knowledge.
And finally, step 4. This one is all about motivation. How do you stay in the game when you can't see how far you've come? Well, the AI solves this by tracking everything. Every right answer, every topic you struggle with, and it turns all that effort into visible data you can actually see.
So instead of just vaguely guessing if you're ready for the exam, you get a clear dashboard like this. You know with certainty, okay, I've mastered 65% of the material, these are my weak spots, and this is what I need to tackle next to see the biggest improvement.
This creates that same motivating feedback loop that makes video games and fitness trackers so addictive. Seeing that progress bar move forward, seeing those numbers change, it's just incredibly powerful. You're no longer just grinding through pages, you actually feel like you're leveling up.
So yeah, this system is clearly going to lead to better scores. But there's a much bigger shift happening here. And it's important we address the elephant in the room, the question that always comes up. Isn't this just a fancy way to cheat?
And the answer is a hard no. This system doesn't replace the hard work of thinking. It doesn't understand the concepts for you. All it does is remove the friction that gets in the way of you doing that work. The AI isn't going to take the test for you. It just makes every minute of your preparation 10 times more efficient.
And that really brings us to the biggest idea of all. For decades, the most effective ways to learn, with personalized feedback and adaptive plans, were a luxury. It was something you could only get at an elite school, or if you could afford an expensive private tutor. AI is changing all of that. It's democratizing that elite system, making it available to literally anyone.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What if passing that difficult exam has never really been about raw intelligence? What if, all along, it's been about having access to the right system? And what does it mean for all of us now that, for the very first time in history, everyone can have one?